Okay. Hello YouTube here, it's Lisa Stade of the YouTube channels of Lisa Stade and Hitler Obsessed, coming to you with the continuation of the Life and Death series of Adolf Hitler. I remember last time we left off, I think was about Operation Barbarossa there. And so what I was talking about was the atrocities that Hitler and the Germans were doing back there in the Eastern Front there. Eventually, Stalin would, get tired of Hitler being in his country because Hitler invaded there in the first place. But eventually, Stalin would have all his factories dismantled, and he'd have it all go through scorched earth, to try to prevent Hitler from confiscating a bunch of the factories or weapons or food or whatever. The scorched earth would be something Hitler would use through the Nuremberg Decree. And so eventually, Stalin would have all his factories moved past the Ural Mountains there and build a bunch of ammo, weapons, and tanks and stuff, and then have a bunch of forces come over to kick Hitler out, and eventually you'd get the Battle of Stalingrad, and you'd have the Russian winters that of course, because Hitler being the dingbat that he was, he would have the Germans not even given winter clothing. Yes, he thought that they would be back before winter. I think that if Hitler was really knew anything about Napoleon Bonaparte, I hate to make a comment about it being seen as this being seen as praising him. But Hitler, I'm guessing, would at least wasn't putting two neurotransmitters together and realizing Russia gets very cold. Just saying. But eventually, there would also be overwhelming numbers of the Russians coming after Hitler and surrounding him, because Hitler would have every man, woman, and child. Not Hitler, Stalin actually, but Hitler would use that also with the Volksmannschaft, which was the people's militia there, when the Battle of Berlin there. So, but eventually, Stalin would also do that in the Eastern Front, and you'd also have the Battle of Stalingrad, which wouldn't be just street to street fighting; it was man to man combat, just to hold whatever ground. And knowing Hitler, he didn't give a darn if anything was happening to his men. He let them die. So that's the kind of person he was. It was all or nothing. And eventually, the Germans would lose the war. And like we were saying about the mention of come and see and the last video. And also this was around the time, El Alamein, which was El Alamein or Elmein, if I'm even pronouncing that correctly, which was the desert, northern Africa, in Egypt there. That the Nazis would also lose, and then the Allies would come through Sicily and make their way up through Italy, and Hitler wasn't happy that Mussolini got the boot and he had to go rescue him. So and then Hitler just fought back, like heck, because knowing the guy, if you killed one of his men, he would take 1,000 more of yours, or whatever civilians he could gather up to kill. No, because like I've said before, he was a toxic personality type, except in politics, authoritarian figure. I'm not going to go into much detail on that because, number one, Part of the only reason is I'm not a psychology major anymore. I'm a history major, so there's not really my field. I can go into a bit of detail there if you want. If you want, that's okay. If you have any other video suggestions, that's fine. But then also, you'd have the Allies that would turn up later on, also in Operation Overlord, which was the not invasion or whatever of France, but the going over the enemy lines to prepare for next stage, which would be D-Day. So, which would be on June 6, 1944. And knowing Hitler and his weird sleep cycles, the guy was an insomniac. Now, if you've ever lived with someone like that, you kind of know what I'm going to be talking about. Except not all insomniacs are like, you don't wake me up at all. And Hitler had that one rule. He would stay up as though the night owl that he was, a total insomniac that he was, but you couldn't wake him up. He woke up whenever he wanted, which was most likely mid-noon time or whatever. Terrible sleep cycle. Screw for a person that way. I hate to put a PSA on, make sure to have good sleep cycles, The guy was sleeping like, he was in university or college. The guy failed college or university, or whatever education he had. There's that history debate that he had community college or high school or middle school education. Because we're all basing this off of American education system versus German Austrian education system. Now, the interesting thing is, when D-Day was happening, Hitler was sleeping, and he had that rule that you didn't wake him up. And many of his generals would try to get Hitler to wake up, for God's sake, because, the Allies are coming and going to come after us. Nope. He woke up on his own time, and that helped cost him his empire. So, thanks to Hitler's stupidity, good Lord, we don't have the guy anymore. But that's a bit of foreshadowing here on YouTube that we like to call foreshadowing. So that's another thing that would cost Hitler the war. Now, I hate to make this video more of less of the life and death and more of, I'm just going to rag on Hitler and, bring up all his military blunders, I guess, on this one. Hate to do that. Even though we had video series dedicated to the Holocaust. So, this is just more lighthearted. We're going to rag on and rant and just shit post the guy, I guess, now. Or troll him or whatever. But another one of Hitler's blunders would be once he had that, the Allies would come fighting through France, and Hitler would lose pretty much, even though they had a lot of the, what do you call those hedges or whatever, they call them hedges, I guess, in whatever they call them. There were the dividing areas of farm fields and cattle fields. There was past the beaches of Normandy, so, and eventually the Allies would win, even though it was still hand to hand, and not hand to hand, but more like not as bad as Stalingrad, but okay, I guess more the definition to be more accurate described would be more like pencil to tank or gun to gun, whatever. And eventually the Allies would also go through what was called the Siegfried Line, which was the magnet line of France that Hitler took advantage of. That was the thing that the French made but left all Dan forest open. Remember that from the video earlier. So he would eventually lose that because he was losing so many men on the Eastern Front because he had Stalin to worry about, and he was good. He knew it, and eventually, in around December or whatever, he would have the Battle of the Bulge, which was in one of the forests, and I think it was Germany or the lowland areas. Not lowland, yes, Germany. This was after the Allies captured places like Belgium, the Netherlands. Yes, the Allies would come very close to the time when Anne Frank was in the Annex. And yes, Anne Frank even mentions, some of the Allied fighting there on the Western Front in France and stuff. This was also before her capture of by the Nazis there after the family was tipped off. Probably another video I'm gonna make about some of the Anne Frank films that we I've seen some trailers on. I think Disney's doing a nice little one lately. It's gonna be fun. I know there's this Where is Anne Frank? Here's another one I'm gonna make a video series on, hopefully sometime soon. God forbid if it's gonna be off at Sac State's campus. So, because newsflash, I'm graduating and I'm transferring. Yay! And then, so eventually, Hitler would also lose the Battle of Bulge, that would also cost him majority of all his panzers, because he lost, and he was losing also the Luftwaffe. So knowing Hitler, he would just go after Holman Goring or whoever he get a hold of. But I'm now going to sign off here, and next video we're going to talk about something that happened a little bit earlier, and then continue where I left off in this video about the Valkyrie assassination attempt on July 20th, 1944 on Hitler. Because I kind of forgot that one. Oh well. This is Lisa Stayed here, signing off, telling you to make sure to subscribe to my videos, hit the like button, become a subscriber to the YouTube channels of Lisa Stayed and Hitler Obsessed. You can definitely go to my Patreon account, become a patron, donate to my Patreon, donate to my subscribe store. You can go to my BitChute channel, of Lisa We Stay, that's one word, on bitchute.com. You can go to my, God forbid, now that they have that wonderful bill that we've all been noticing, I can't mention an account anymore. Actually, I'm probably not going to post on it anymore. Just saying, call your representative, tell him to get rid of the restrict ban so at least he can upload more stuff to that thing. Thank you. That's literally, the restrict ban is the enabling act of Adolf Hitler 2.0. I've mentioned that on other people's YouTube videos about that. It's terrible. I swear I'm gonna make another video on that thing's existence. Why it sucks. Why it's against freedom of speech. Why it has everything connected and reeks of just authoritarian dictatorship. Because of TikTok, really? Sean. But no, you can definitely go to my Facebook account and Facebook Messenger, send me a friend request, and leave me a comment if you want. You can do both at Lisa Stayed or my Facebook group of Hitler Interested History Buffs. I don't think I succeeded with the Odyssey. I'll probably catch up with that on the Odyssey channel sometime soon. You can go to my Twitter. That's I think Lisa Stayed, or it's probably my college ID number. So it's something with a bunch of letters, no W in front of it. So whichever one it is. Now on to the next video of the series that I forgot the number we're on. I just know that we're close to Hitler dying. I can't wait for this series to be done. Bye now.